I am rarely afraid to play a game. Horror is one of my favorite genres in both video games and movies. I'm sure you've heard of a game called Dead Space. It's one of the few games that still manages to scare the hell out of me. I haven't played Dead Space since it originally came out in 2008, and man, does it still hold up as one of the scariest games ever made.
I have yet to experience the kind of dread that Dead Space was able to bring to the table. Isaac Clarke, a former ship engineer, drew the short straw and was tasked to help repair a ship with communication issues called the Ishimura. Conveniently, your girlfriend Nicole was a chief medical officer on the ship. Upon arriving, it is obvious something is not right, and then you're introduced to one of the most disgusting, terrifying, and macabre enemies in gaming history, the Necromorphs. An alien can be scary. A monster can be scary. But a Lovecraftian monstrosity that has human features is just unsettling and leaves this sense of dread over you. A strange signal drove everyone mad on the ship, and now you have to deal with some unpleasant people. And personally, one of the most tense and heart-pounding introductions to an enemy in gaming history.
Get out of there! The doors are locked! Run!
Jesus Christ, run! Go! Faster!
Run, Isaac! Get the hell out of there!
Whew. Goddamn son of a bitch!
Each chapter is a different part of the ship that you cautiously explore through one of the most clever FPS games I have ever played. Compared to other FPS games where headshot equals death, in Dead Space you must strategically dismember parts of the enemies to take them down. Not having a head doesn't mean much to these guys.
Look at him go! A for effort, buddy!
Overall, it's pretty linear, but there are some side rooms you can miss or can backtrack to later if you want some extra items. You're given a plasma cutter as a weapon, and other engineering equipment because you're not just some soldier running around, you're a ship engineer. Each weapon has an alternate firing mode. The plasma cutter switches from vertical to horizontal to give a somewhat easier way of getting rid of enemy limbs. Sometimes though, you just get fed up and ignore getting rid of the enemy limbs altogether.
Nice shot!
A neat mechanic used for puzzles and also slowing enemies down, the stasis module, is a great addition to properly managing your resources. Yeah, there is a store you can occasionally stop by or backtrack to, assuming you have the cash, so being able to freeze enemies is great, but you better pick your battles with it. The combat stays unpredictable enough, with new enemy types being thrown at you at perfect intervals to keep you on your feet and make you adjust accordingly. Do you attempt to run? What gun do you use for this encounter? Should you use stasis on a certain enemy and focus on the others? The stores that I had mentioned earlier are typically in safe locations where you're able to purchase weapons, suit upgrades, ammo, and health packs. You can also store other weapons you've bought if you ever need to. You will come across nodes on your way through the Ishimura that allow you to upgrade your weapons, gear, stasis, and your health. Thankfully, they are rare and far in between. There is no way to fully upgrade everything, let alone one weapon, through a single playthrough, which makes picking what you want to upgrade extremely important. A majority of the horror comes from the immersion. The lack of a heads-up display, with everything being shown to you in real time, such as your health being on your back, how much ammo you have when you aim down your sights, and when trying to access your inventory in real time, not being able to pause during a fight. And on top of all of this, you're on a ship, in the middle of space, and the entire game makes you feel the claustrophobia. Seldomly do you find yourself in a space that gives you enough room to actually run around. Long-running corridors, cramped elevators, space segments that remove the sound other than the muffled use of your weapons, and your breathing growing more heavy the more your oxygen runs out.
All while knowing those things are gonna jump out at you? Yeah, Jesus Christ!
You're also alone. Not entirely alone, but going off the top of my head, I think you only see another human maybe 3 or 4 times, ones that are still alive that is, across the entire ship. It is just you fending for yourself. No one there to make you feel safe, no NPC there to help you during fights. It's just you. And the occasional video chat with your surviving crew members on what to do next. The story is told through what you can see around the ship, and the occasional audio text log that shows us the perspective of the crew as the infestation started spreading.
This is Benson, Tram Engineering. We think we figured it out. Smith killed one.
The AI for the enemies makes them all the more terrifying. They can hide in the air ducts of the ship and will of course scare the shit out of you. They're not slow either. Some sprint better, some crawl on the walls, some fucking explode, some transform corpses on the floor into the necromorphs within seconds. The atmosphere of the game is not for the faint of heart. Psychotic scribblings and blood on the walls, corpses everywhere, and voices can be heard in the distance. The game focuses on some aspects of psychological horror. Being exposed to the signal throughout the game has caused Isaac's mental state to slowly degrade, causing him to have some hallucinations, both visual and auditory. There are boss fights. Sort of. I guess I would say 2 main bosses and 2 mini-bosses. Regardless of how you qualify them, they actually feel like bosses. They are not thrown at you often, and there is a gradual build-up to them. Dead Space does an amazing job of showing you there is something coming, you don't know from where or when, but it foreshadows them, and for one of the bosses, you don't even see them for a while after they begin hinting at a boss encounter.
You hold him down!
Okay, so there's a hole there. I have not seen this hole before. Therefore, I'm inclined to believe that something will grab me from that hole.
There's recording.
That was Nicole, right?
Okay, well, shit, I guess not.
I don't think you need much convincing that Dead Space is one of the best made horror action games ever made. I left out the story just in case you have never played it. I highly recommend going through it. The story is great. The claustrophobic combat and horrific graphic details on the enemies charging at you, the writings of the insane on the walls warning you and revealing small details about the story, the mystery of what truly happened on the Ishimura, and whether or not you will find your girlfriend Nicole. It's amazing. After revisiting this game for the first time in years, I forgot just how well made this game is. I am not embarrassed to admit I jumped in fear several times and yelled at Isaac to run faster while sitting alone in my apartment. There just hasn't been a game like this since, well, unless you count the second one.
That's, it's foreshadowing for part 2.
Thank you all for watching. I would love some feedback from you guys. Let me know what you want to see in the future or whether you would like to see some changes. I'm having so much fun making these videos. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe, and check out my Twitter, link in the description. See ya!